Hi again. Today we're talking about attachments. Don't you think it makes more sense to have everything stored in one place? For example, for a project, you may want to have your protocols for meetings or further design elements or any other cost structures or budget approvals or whatsoever, all directly in the same place as your project plan, because then you have easy access. You can directly communicate it with your stakeholders and thus be way more efficient in your daily work, because you're not really looking at 10 different places to find the information that you were looking for. So therefore, I'm going to show you that in Merlin Project, you can do exactly that. You can store everything that's important to your project directly in your project plan, directly attached to an activity or a group or a phase. So let's jump right in. For example, we have this activity, creating and managing the invitation list. If I now right-click on it and go to Insert, then go to Attachment, I can see the different types of attachments there are in Merlin Project. We have a checklist, we have an event, we have a file, information, issue, and risk. For the invitation list, now I'd like to go for a risk. You can see the secondary view is showing up. You can also activate or deactivate it with this button over here. And there you can currently see the attachments view. You can also, if you want, have the attachments view in the main work window. Go to attachments, click on all attachments, or only filter for the attachment type you're interested in. But for now, this is good that we have the gunshot on the top and the attachments on the bottom. Also here you can do the same. You can have, for example, a second work breakdown structure, which is only selecting, in this case, the information that you've selected in the first window. So let's go back to all attachments. We have now a new risk. I want to call this risk, for managing and creating the invitation list, that we forget to invite someone important. We all know this awkward feeling when we forgot to invite someone important. So therefore, we want to make sure that this doesn't happen in our project. In the bottom window, we can already see, okay, this is the title. It's attached to this activity. It's currently at a low risk. It has no planned base cost, and it's a risk attachment. If we now want to make changes to this risk attachment, I can go back into, as always, the inspector. You remember, whenever you want to edit any information, always go to the inspector. And over here, I can see when it was created, what type of group it's assigned to, what's the class. So for example, does it require reduction in emergency plan, or can it be accepted? What's the probability of entry? Who's it reported by? So here we're talking about the resources who have been added here. Who's in charge of mitigating this risk? And we can enter a risk description. Then we can go into another tab where you can see, okay, what's the scope, cost, and deadline? We remember the triple constraint of project management over here. We can enter information over here. Important areas are affected. Let's say 2 to 5% cost increase. And we can already see, hey, it changes the status. So basically, by filling out the information, we can enter how the risk is assessed. In the text below our learning path, we directly show you how the different risk phases are calculated. So if that interests you, quickly just glimpse through the text and see how it's basically calculated. For now, I'm going to close this, and I can see here we've got the probability as well. Yeah, sorry, the window is over there, but you can see there's the total points assigned to this risk, and we can add actions and risk closing in order to mitigate it further and also learn some valuable lessons afterwards. We can say after the activity, for example, is finished, we can say, did this risk occur? How much delay did it close? Is there any costs involved with it? And what are our lessons learned? So this is all for now for risk attachments, but there's plenty more of attachments we can add. I'll just quickly glimpse through them because the logic is similar. We can, for example, now say we go into another phase and go into, let's say, for example, we create a checklist. Over here, we can then add a standard to-do list with different tasks that we need to do in order to fulfill, in this case, the activity of establishing a clear RSVP system. So at some points, I can check them, I can uncheck them if I want, and basically see the status of this checklist is now complete, that I've crossed off every single item in the to-do list. So that's a new checklist. So what else can we add? We can, for example, go into providing name tags. Let's go over here, add, for example, this time an event. Here you can say, okay, we have some attendees, we can use the resources, or we can even give it a new name. New person. We can give it a status. Is he invited? Is the person confirmed, tentative, or is he cancelled? And we can also set the date for this event. So for providing name tags, we can say shipping delivery date for name tags, just to give one example. So we expect to receive the name tags right now on 23rd of October. We can give it a different date if we say, yeah, maybe it comes on Friday. So right now the event is, let's give it an all-day event and say it's confirmed by the delivery company that our order will deliver on October 25th. What else can we do? Let's give it one more. So for example, for the marketing and promotion phase, we have now this marketing plan. Here we can say, okay, we have some further information that was discussed at a meeting, for example, where I can give this, let's call it meeting minutes. And now we can say, okay, how did we receive this information? It was personal, status, let's say at a conference. We can give it a URL if you want. We can give it costs. As always, we give it tags or fields. But what I right now want to do is add a note to it. So the meeting minutes, they've given us information about how to use social media accounts to align with brand identity, for example. So yeah, that's just a simple information. You can obviously write as much or as little as you want. But for now, I think that's it for the attachments. Maybe just browse through them yourself. It should be pretty self-explanatory now that we've understood the basics. You have the attachments in a secondary view, for example. You can also enter them in the primary view if you want to change the view type over here to attachments. You can filter by different types of attachments. They can have costs assigned to them, and they can store information, data, further breakdowns of to-do lists, for example, and all of this is stored in the inspector. So that's it for the attachments.